Hi, I'm Adamsdownboy and welcome to the 5th in the Muthacluckers video guide series to Destiny 2's Root of Nightmares raid with my fellow clanmates Aaron PK, Frel UK, Minoni, Electric Sheep, Tooks and Zone Runner. In this video we'll look at the third encounter, Macrocosm, which is the first proper boss encounter of the raid. Your aim is to defeat a yellow bar boss Incendior, Zoark Explicator of Planets. So you'll need to take everything you've learned about the gardener mechanic over the first two encounters, as well as creating darkness refuges from the parkour section you ran through to get here, and just forget them all as Macrocosm doesn't use any of them. To damage Zoark, you'll need to do your DPS phase from 3 plates in turn that correspond to his darkness or light shield affinity. These plates are charged by moving a matching planet type to it after first identifying and moving 4 mismatched planets, 2 from each side of the arena. If this sounds complicated, don't worry, as it kind of is, but hopefully it'll be a bit easier to understand once we're finished here. As you enter the Macrocosm encounter area, the Essence's operations room, you'll see a symmetrical arena split into a light side on the left and a dark side on the right. On each side there's a lower and upper triangular platform, each with 3 planets floating above, 1 at each corner, and a T-shaped platform in between them. In the centre there are 3 plates, each with a planet above and a small crux floating in the middle. At the back of the arena there's a raised platform where you can see the boss standing with some scions. As you get closer, around where the rally banner is located, you'll see that 2 of the planets above the plates in the middle will start glowing. The one on the left will glow with light energy and the one on the right with darkness. You'll be moving these planets around, as was presaged in the Insight Altar of Reflection on Sabathoon's Throne World last year, where she told us that the power to move worlds will soon be yours, as one of her 2 truths and 2 lies. For Macrocosm, you'll need to split into 2 teams of 3, 1 per side. 2 guardians from each side will be runners, identifying and moving planets, and 1 will be the gunner, clearing ads so that the runners can execute the mechanics with as little interference as possible. The 2 guardians on the top platforms will be paired, as well as the 2 on the bottom ones. The first thing you'll need to sort out is naming the planet locations. This can be as much fun as naming Oracle locations in the Atheon fight in Vault of Glass, or the plates on the Oryx fight in Kingsfall. One way of doing this is to number the planets from 1 to 6 on the light side and 1 to 6 on the dark, which avoids the need to call out whether the planet is located on the bottom or top plate. Or, alternatively, you could call out top and bottom 1 to 3 on each side. This has the advantage of only having to remember the 3 positions on each plate rather than where all 6 positions are. The Cluckers, albeit not without a little animated discussion on our Discord server, name the locations as top and bottom platforms, with the planets closest to the outer wall being wall, the 4 nearest the plates in the centre of the room inner, and the 4 at the apex of the triangle as you look at it from the arena entrance being mid. I'm just going to say I've always preferred bridge over mid, with the bridge being the direction of the platform that the boss stands on, as the meanings of mid and inner can be confused in the heat of the moment. You'll see in the video that this can happen quite easily. But, as ever with naming conventions, just make sure everyone is on the same page before you start, and remember that there's no absolute right answer to any naming convention. It's not worth losing friends over the name of areas in a raid encounter, even if wall, inner and bridge have the advantage of being more right than any other possible names. Zoark will initially ignore you while he plays with his computer, so you can have a fair look around if this is your first time. The encounter is triggered if you get too close, step on one of the top plates or shoot him or one of the scions nearby, so avoid doing that until everyone's used the rally banner and in position. After starting, everyone should kill continuously spawning enemies until a solar shielded honoured centurion appears on each side. The gunners and top plate runners need to focus on killing these to spawn a yellow bar terrestrial lieutenant colossus on that side's 2 platforms. These should be killed quickly by that platform's runner to gain the planetary insight buff. If a runner is struggling, gunners can help damage the colossus, but should avoid shooting when its health gets low so they don't inadvertently gain the buff. Planetary insight allows you to see the type of planets at each platform's corner. On the left hand light platforms 2 planets will glow white and 1 orange, and on the right hand dark side 2 will glow orange and 1 white. The mismatched planet needs to be moved to the other side. To do so, the planets all have a planetary attunement orb projected underneath that a runner can interact with to gain the planetary affinity buff. Gaining the planetary affinity buff will cancel the planetary insight buff, so you'll no longer be able to see the planet's type. The new buff now allows you to transfer the planet above the orb. You'll use this to move it to replace the mismatched planet on the other side. The first person to pick up planetary affinity during a phase will start a planetary shift countdown timer lasting 30 seconds across the whole fire team, which applies to all 4 runners. The 4 mismatched planets will need to be transferred to their correct destinations before this timer runs out. When the countdown starts and finishes, the whole fire team will hear an audio cue that sounds like a church bell. It's important to coordinate between all 4 runners and for no one to pick up the buff until everyone's ready. One of the top platform runners should act as the lead to coordinate pickup so everyone has as much time as possible to transfer their planet. After identifying the mismatched planet, each runner should tell their top or bottom platform partner its position. The runners will need to take their planet to the corner that their partner has left empty on the opposite side, so that each platform on the left has 3 light planets and each platform on the right has 3 dark planets with no mismatches. Be aware that most of the ads will be concentrated at the bridge end of the arena. Runners on the top plates may decide that, even though it takes longer, it's safer to run down towards where the rally banner was and cross between the 2 bottom plates before making their way to the top plate on the other side. Once the 4 attunement orbs are deposited, the planets will start to move to their new positions and the runners can go back to their original platforms. If you've made a mistake and moved a planet to the wrong location, the incorrect planets will return to their original location. If the planetary shift timer hasn't expired, you can shoot the crux in the middle to end the timer early and reset the phase. You'll need to kill a new round of honoured centurions and terrestrial lieutenants and proceed again on the pair of platforms that still have mismatched planets. The planets you need to move will be the same as before. Correctly located planets will stay in place and won't need to be moved again. While the runners are moving planets, the gunners will be killing Cabal Scion and Phalanx ads as efficiently as possible, so that runners aren't disrupted by the Scion's grenade attack to boot them into the air and aren't facing too much enemy fire as they cross between the sides. Standing on the 2 T-shaped platforms will let gunners deal with ads on their runners' platforms and also give a good vantage point for shooting ads below in the middle of the arena. Or, if your runners are confident that they can handle the ads on their plate, the gunners can mix it with the ads in the middle in CQC. This is probably the more effective way of keeping their attention off your runners. Although it's not possible to damage the boss at this point, gunners can still distract him if he's focusing on one runner and making life difficult for them. In this example, to demonstrate the planet moving mechanic, after the 4 runners have gained the planetary affinity buff, the left top runner calls out that their wall planet is mismatched as it's glowing orange, while the right top runner calls out that their mid planet is mismatched as it's glowing white. On the bottom platforms, the left runner calls out inner and the right runner calls mid. So on the top platforms, the left runner needs to take the planetary attunement from the wall orb to the right side mid corner to replace the planet that the right runner is transferring from mid into the left wall corner position. On the bottom plates, the runners swap planets between the inner corner on the left and the mid corner on the right. If you take too long to transfer all 4 planets into their correct positions, Zoark has a flaming wipe mechanic which will kill the whole team. The timer is fairly generous, but you'll probably only have time to correct a mistake once. When you're successful and all 4 mismatched planets are successfully transferred, the message "the indexed planets reveal themselves" will appear on screen. The planets will start to move to their new locations and emit a burst of light or dark energy. The Cluckers tend to return to their starting platforms after moving their planets. You could stay on the side you've just travelled across to, but it doesn't gain you any time as you still have to wait for Centurions to spawn, so we prefer the method with fewer moving parts. When all 4 planets are in the correct locations, 2 more honoured Centurions will spawn among a new wave of ads, and once killed, a fresh terrestrial Lieutenant Colossus will appear on each platform. Killing them will again grant the planetary insight buff to the Guardian landing the final blow. This time, your lead runner will use it to inspect the 3 planets over the damage plates in the middle of the room. There will be 2 of one type and 1 of the other, so it will only ever be 2 light and 1 dark, or 2 dark and 1 light. The lead runner will direct the other runners so that they take a planet of a matching type to each plate, light on light and dark on dark. Any planet of the correct type will do, so choose them from the inner corners where they're closest. If they don't pick up an orb themselves, the lead runner can retain the planetary insight buff to make sure everything is in order. The runners will again interact with the orb to collect planetary affinity, to move their planet, and start the planetary shift timer. The rest of the fire team should converge near the damage plates to get ready for boss damage. In this example, we'll assume that the lead runner is on the top left platform. After gaining planetary insight, they would see that the left and mid damage plates have a darkness planet floating above them, and the right plate has a light planet above. They'd then direct the top right runner to take a dark planet from their platform to the left plate, the bottom dark runner to take a dark planet to mid, and the bottom left runner to take a light planet to the right damage plate. Any incorrectly set damage plates will mean they'll not be able to be used for boss DPS. After all 3 plates are correctly set, the planetary shift countdown timer will disappear, and after an audio cue that sounds like a big door shutting, Zoark will jump down and the DPS phase begins. Again, you can hurry it along by shooting the central crux, which will move the planets faster, if you like. One of the runners should have responsibility for deciding for the fire team the order in which the plates will be used. Zoark's immunity shield will alternate between light and dark affinity, dark light dark, or light dark light, so your fire team will need to stand on a matching plate to get the field of light or flux of darkness buff to be able to do damage, similar to the redolence adds in the Scission encounter. In this example, you could use the plates in the order left right mid, or mid right left, but the final decision will be up to the lead runner. You'll have a damage window of 30 seconds, that's 10 seconds per shield type split across the 3 plates including your travel time. Each plate can only be used once, so you'll have 10 seconds on the first plate and around 7 seconds for the second and third after you get there. Zoark's health bar works a little like the Caretaker's in Vow of the Disciple. A short section will glow to show the maximum damage you can do on each plate, although you can push past the limit for a second or 2 afterwards. On each damage plate, as Zoark swaps his immunity affinity, the message "The Explicator shifts focus" will appear on screen. Zoark will bring up a virtual console, switch his shield type and send a flaming twister into the plate you're standing on. The fire team will need to move to the second and then the third plate to continue damage. When all 3 plates have been used and you no longer have any buffs to be able to damage him, he'll summon a flame twister around him which will kill anyone standing too close and return to his starting platform again, while the planets over the plates move back into their original positions. Take the opportunity to collect any power ammo bricks before the add phase restarts and reload your heavy weapon. You'll then need to rinse and repeat until you do enough damage to trigger his final stand. 2 full damage phases should be enough to take him to the marker on his health bar, but you can have up to 3 to get there if you're struggling with heavy ammo. Once Zoark enters the final stand, he'll summon his Flame Twister wipe attack around him and pull the 3 planets you moved for the damage phase to him, empowering all 3 plates, so now any of them can be used to damage him. After killing him, he'll rise within the twister and explode at the top before dropping down. The Macrocosm loot chest will appear on the bridge that Zoark stands on, behind where he makes his last stand, and can drop the Caraxes' Distress heavy grenade launcher, Michael's Reverence sidearm, Rufus's Fury auto rifle, and chest, legs and class item armour. In setting up for Macrocosm, your most experienced Guardians should be your top plate runners, as these will have the most to do. Because they have the best line of sight to the honoured Centurions, they will be in the best position to burst them down, as well as the Scions and Lieutenants that spawn around their platform. They will also be travelling across the most densely populated area of the arena and will be travelling the furthest. One of these 2 should act as the lead to coordinate the runners and make sure everyone's picking up the planetary alignment buff at the same time, and to call out the middle plates for damage. The 2 bottom platforms are good locations for learning the mechanics. There are fewer adds and the travel distance between them is smaller. You also have the option, as Sheep demonstrates, of standing off your platform in the central area near to where the rally banner was planted. Here you're not as crowded for combat if you're more comfortable like this, and the 3 planets can be viewed easily once you have the planetary insight buff. Gunners on ad clear duty still have a crucial role to play in assisting the top runners in killing their Centurions and clearing ads from the central platform area to make the crossing as easy as possible. They can also help with keeping the top and bottom platforms clear of Scions. If you're running, you'll be dealing with the Scions that jump down to your platform and bursting down both the honoured Centurion on your side and the terrestrial Lieutenant. You'll need good close or mid-range primary weapons and a good burst special weapon as well as your boss DPS weapon. You'll notice from our video that chill clip stasis fusion rifles or strand subclass grapple grenades are a bit of a favourite, preventing the lieutenant from shooting back. Auto rifles are a pretty good call for top platform runners, having the range to hit the honoured centurions as well as being useful in CQC. Void Hunter runners with invisibility builds can also be useful for crossing between platforms and avoiding damage, as Minnow shows in our run. Gunners' loadouts will depend on whether they're planning to mix it with the ads or stay more remote up on the T platforms. For our run, both Tooks and Sheep are running Solar Bonk Hammer Titans, which is a great CQC subclass. As ever with gunners, weapons with ad control perks like Volt Shot, Incandescent, Destabilizing Rounds and Chain Reaction make your job easier. Waveframe grenade launchers are another way of both dealing with groups of scions and phalanxes, being able to get underneath their shields, and anti-barrier weapons are handy to shoot through phalanx shields. Finally, everyone will need burst weapons for boss damage. Machine guns are good for the ammo economy, as if you hit Zoark with a few bullets when he goes immune, that's a lot less of a problem than wasting a grenade launcher or rocket launcher shot. If you have it, Divinity makes racking up damage easier. Different seasons tend to have different damage metas, so just go with whatever causes the most damage fastest. This was the encounter that caused our run the biggest problem, with a new clan member Frel who was running for the first time on one of the top platforms. This caused a couple of problems. First, he wasn't as used to having to juggle the ads and the honoured centurion kill, which meant that the terrestrial lieutenants on the dark side spawned in a few seconds later than the light side ones on the left. Before watching the videos, we thought the planetary shift timer was individual to each runner rather than applying to the whole fire team. So, no one realised their disadvantaged Frel by picking up the planetary insight buff, or that he was starting with a timer that was already 1/3 expired. Well, now we know better, and so do you, so you can avoid the mistakes that we made. The video you're about to see is from the 6th attempt, so frustrations were beginning to show, and I've modified Frel's soundtrack so we could keep our PG rating. The encounter is started by Frel jumping over to the dark side top platform. Zoark jumps down to the central platform and ads start to spawn in continuously. After 5 seconds, the second wave, including the honoured centurions, spawn in.
Okay, good to go.
Damn you, Tux! Why are you giving me a low score?
Damn.
I know, harsh. Wasn't intended, it was a general low score for everybody.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't intended, but happy accident.
Yeah.
The light side honoured centurion is killed by Minnow, and the light side lieutenants spawn in and are killed by Minnow and Erin. The right centurion is killed by Frel, and the dark side lieutenants spawn in and are killed. After checking the 3 planets on their plates, Minnow and Erin call that their mismatched planets are on the inner corner for the top platform and mid for the bottom platform. Erin and Minnow pick up their planetary alignment buffs to move their planets, starting the planetary shift countdown timer for all 4 runners and triggering the church bell audio cue.
Okay, this is enough for my Monfrel.
Mid shape.
Sheep mistakenly calls out inner for the bottom dark side plate, but fortunately Erin has line of sight and just swaps her planet in for the one that Sheep's just taken. Frel calls wall for the top dark plate, but as you can see, 1/3 of the planetary shift timer has already gone by the time he starts moving his planet.
It's going to be enough for you.
Wall.
Okay.
Did you say inner?
Yeah.
Minnow transfers his planet to the top dark wall position, and Sheep transfers his planet to the lower light inner position. They start moving back to their starting platforms again. The planetary shift timer runs out before Frel's able to transfer his planet, which triggers the church bell audio cue again. You can see the planets move back into their starting positions in Took's view. At this point, there's no reason to shoot the central crux as the timer has already run out. If a mistake had been made and there was still time on the clock, you could shoot it to reset that phase of the encounter, but for now, the fire team just waits for the Centurions to respawn.
Oh, I've got scions on it. No, I didn't get there in time.
It's alright, we got time.
The Centurions spawn in and are killed by Tukes and Zone. Terrestrial Lieutenants spawn in and are killed by all 4 runners, but only Minnow and Frel need to identify the mismatched planets on the top platforms, with the ones on the bottom platforms already being in the correct position.
Well, my guy doesn't spawn until really late, and then I had 3 bloody scions sat on the one place where I had to go to.
Minnow again calls out Inner for the light side and collects its planetary alignment to gain planetary affinity and start the planetary shift timer. Frel again calls Wall for the dark side.
Yeah, it's Inner for mine.
Wall again.
We're fine, Shape.
I know. I checked.
Minnow transfers his planet and returns to the top light platform. A few seconds later, Frel transfers his planet and returns to the top dark platform. It would be possible, if you wanted, to shoot the central crux now to finish the planetary shift timer and move the planets into place faster.
They're all sat on it again. I know, but then...
Come on, deep breaths.
Honorary Centurions spawn in again with the on-screen message "The index planets reveal themselves," indicating that all planets are correctly positioned. They're killed by Minnow and Tukes, which spawns Terrestrial Lieutenants on all 4 platforms, which are then killed by the runners. Minnow calls that the damage plates are light on left and right and dark in the middle. Aaron moves a light planet from the bottom left platform to the right hand damage plate. Minnow moves a light planet from the top left platform to the left damage plate, and Sheep moves a dark planet from the bottom right hand platform to the middle damage plate. After that's done, everyone assembles near the damage plates and gets on with ad clearing.
Okay, it is light left and right and dark is mid for Sheep.
Dark mid.
I'll do right.
Okay, I'll take left.
Minnow calls out left, mid, right as the order that the damage plates will be used in.
And it's going to be left, mid, right for damage.
Left, mid, right. Thank you.
Yep. Why is everything on fire?
The door closing audio cue signals that the damage phase is about to start, just before Zoark jumps down. You can see he has a light coloured aura and the highlighted section of his health bar showing how much damage you're able to do on this plate.
Feels like it's a very poor
Damage.
interior design choice.
Zoark changes his immunity type to darkness, becoming immune to field of light buff damage, and projects a flame vortex towards the left damage plate, so the fire team moves to the middle plate.
Immune.
Mid.
Again, Zoark swaps his shield type, goes immune to flux of darkness damage, and fires a flame vortex at the middle plate. The fire team now swaps to the right plate for the final damage phase.
Immune.
Immune.
After the third damage plate runs out, Guardians will no longer be able to damage Zoark. The planets all return to their starting positions, as does the fire team for the start of the next add phase. I'll leave the rest of the encounter to play out without commentary now. You can follow individual runners to understand the planetary shifting mechanic better, positioning the planets on the 4 platforms in the setup for the damage plates. You can also hear the communication flow between everyone.
Immune.
Immune. Not bad.
Just going around collecting heavy.
Mm-hmm. Mid for mine, bro.
Mid shape.
It's
Whoa.
going to be enough for you.
Yep, we lit up.
Even if you move out of the way. Thank you.
Okay, it is dark left and right again, light for mid.
Oh, my planetary
Aaron, can you do
alignment
mid?
thing's gone. No, my
Okay.
my thingy's gone.
Okay, I'll do
No,
mid.
it's just not here yet.
Oh,
Sheep
now I've
right,
got it.
flow left.
Ship right.
That was weird.
Yeah, and throw left. And I'll try and distract him. And it is left, right, left, mid, right for damage.
Left, mid, right. Thank you. Immune.
Immune. Go to mid. Immune.
Immune.
Into last stand.
Okay.
Save your ammo. Stay on this plate if it doesn't catch fire.
You say that one as well?
Immune.
Yep.
Go for it.
He's tethered as well.
Yeah. There we
Well
are.
done.
There we go.
Prowl doing an aggressive bag.
Well, I didn't want to swear because I didn't want to
Yes, yes.
make it even harder
that's
for
gonna-
Adams.
He's gonna have a real fun time editing this one.
Sorry, Adam. That made me really angry.
The eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that Sheep and Erin have a psychic connection, so even if he calls Inna, she heads to mid anyway. As I was watching this, I was thinking that, with hindsight, this illustrates a valuable lesson while you're raiding, particularly with people you're unfamiliar with, and that's what might first appear to be a problem that someone's having with an encounter's mechanic often has its roots in an earlier lack of communication. I mention this so that, if you're running with someone who seems to be struggling, it's worth taking a moment to think whether the problem is actually being caused inadvertently earlier on in the encounter's mechanics. Take Tooks' advice and take a deep breath, play nice just like my Clucker Clan mates do here, and don't be too quick to judge. In any event, once you do start getting this encounter down, it becomes much smoother. In our normal runs, it's unusual not to finish this in a single try. That's the third encounter finished, so with your loot collected, onto the third parkour section and the boss encounter in our final videos. As ever, I'd like to thank Kyber for permission to use their loot infographic and Priony for the encounter maps that I've used throughout this video series. On behalf of the Muthacluckers, thanks for watching, we hope that's been helpful, and may all your drops be god rolls.